Hello, my name is Ulrika Karlsson and I welcome you to listen to this talk about sacred water. And with me today I have my beloved friend Susanna, who's also my co-author to the book Holy Fuck and Sacred Water, The Secret Connections to Everything. Hi Susanna, I'm so happy to be here with you today and to share about water and the energy about water. Do you want to start by talk a little bit about yourself before we start to dive into the topic of water?
Yes, I will actually start to share my screen here and get us going. Okay, so let's hope this works. Technology is brilliant and a curse sometimes. Okay, yes, so here you can see Holy Fucking Sacred Water, The Secret Connections to Everything. This is our book. So basically, why don't we start to share a little bit, but what do we mean when we talk about a holy fuck? Ulis, let's get started with that.
Yes. So for us, holy fuck is basically very easily said that it's the merge of everything. The merge of the feminine and the masculine, the merge of the conscious and unconscious, the merge of yin and yang, the merge of light and darkness. So everything is a holy fuck if it's also is embedded with some kind of high state of consciousness. So we can have unholy fucks also. But so each and one of us, we are holy fucks. Hopefully that we are also, being made in a holy fuck. But this book came to us 3 years ago, actually, 2020, as the first edition, where we started to write about sacred sexuality, but we discovered that a holy fuck is so much more than a sacred sexuality. It's multi-dimensional and is also a holistic approach, so to speak, on all levels. That is my take.
It's also that the creation of everything comes from the merge between, like, if it's a positive or negative, the in electricity you need the positive and negative to create a current, right? So it's the, as you were saying, the merge, the union of something that also creates something new, like the union between the man and a woman in a sexual act becomes, it can create new creation of something living. So that's also the holy fuck. And when we talk about the sacred water, it's a lot about both the inner water and the external water, and when it's in the pure essence. And we will talk much more about that later on in this talk.
Exactly. And I also want to mention that a holy fuck is seen all the way from the neurons that are firing with a spark, and also so like a microcosmos, and all the way out there into the universe. The Big Bang principle or theory can be described as a holy fuck also. So all the way from a micro perspective to a macro perspective. And with the sacred water, as you were saying, Susanna, is also that we are, we contain water more than 70 or 75%. So water is embedded in our cells, in our DNA. And that's also why we need to reclaim the sacredness. It has been lost over thousands of years.
So how do these holy fuck and sacred water connect?
The way we describe it in one way in the book is like the neurons, as I was just saying, are firing, like they come with a spark of information. And then there's this gap where the neuron is firing, and there's this water element. So you have the water element everywhere in your body, and also your blood is part of the water element from the yogic perspective. So that means that everything that is in our blood, in our veins, is also aiding and being a big part of the holy fuck, because the holy fuck cannot exist if it's not being also transported into something else. Like if it's just firing and all this information is not being received. So the transportation and also the receive of the holy fuck is in the blood and the water elements.
Exactly. And we know that, for instance, our pineal gland contains water, and the crystal, that is what sparks and open up to the different dimensions and things, and higher being. So that is just one example of actually how they collaborate, and all these currents goes through the water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know that water also is a conductor for the electricity that you mentioned. So you need them both. And also, I just want to mention that Holy Fucking Sacred Water was written, as I said, 2020, and is sold in 17 countries, and is called the Book of the Year by its readers. And it's like you and I, Susanna, we wrote how important it is to clear our inner water, because our inner water is so polluted by our lifestyles, by our mindsets, by our stressful lives that we live in the world today. So our inner water is polluted. And then, when we pee and when we sweat, we bring this polluted water out into the external water, and vice versa. We pollute the outer water with chemicals, with toxics, with stress, etc. So this is like a negative downward spiral, how we are polluting the inner and the external water. So when we wrote this book, we also share the importance how to clear your inner water, and also the necessity to clear the outer water, oceans and lakes, etc. And what we didn't know, that 3 years later we would be sitting here talking about an exceptional tool that clears out our inner water. I think that is a manifestation on a high level.
Definitely. So for those who don't know you, Ulis, why don't you share a little bit about you and your background? What do you do?
Thank you. So I have a lot of experience of many what I called frozen emotions, a lot of blockages in my water, because I have been depressed and suicidal, and I had to find a way, to come back into life from that state of being. So I'm a yogi since more than 28 years. I work as a yoga therapist, and I am an author to 5 books that has come through me in 2.5 years. So 4 of the books are international, and me and Susanna, we actually met in our first collaboration, a Swedish book called Famna Feminint Ledarskap, about embracing feminine leadership. So that's how we got to end up and write the Holy Fuck book. I'm a speaker, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a teacher training, holding teacher trainings, and I'm also a life designer like Susanna, that we design the life of your dreams inside and out, and it all starts within you, in your water, in your cells. So that's a little bit about me.
Brilliant.
And how about you, Susanna? Who are you?
Yes, who am I? And that's the thing, is what's been driving me all my life, is to find out, who am I? Why am I here? Because I never felt that I fitted in. So that's been my mission somehow, to really explore and find not of who I am and what I'm here for, and how to create the life that I want, and where I'm free, and create my own reality instead of being manipulated and affected by outer sources who tells who I am and what I am, and you know, all the projections and things. So that's been also, you know, been out of necessity. Also going through depressions. Have had quite a, you know, difficult journey. Definitely a seeker, and been I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia like a decade ago, so I've had a lot of health issues going on. So now I'm a co-author and author of 8 books. I was actually trained as a I have 2 master degrees, so one in education and one in psychology. So I've had taught at nutrition and health in Copenhagen. So I'm a senior lecturer there. I've had the podcast Live the Impossible show that we had listeners in 119 countries. That started in 2020, but due to some of my health issues, I had to stop that, but that's up and coming again. Speaker, also mentor and guide, and I have world educated my kids the last many years, and what that means is basically we travel the world, and so the kids can experience the world instead of reading about it, and get first-hand experience with and look at the world in a holistic way. So I'm married to a Dane, but I am a Swede, so you know, we're in this quite international type of reality. What we want to do also to say when we talk about the products, we will also mention is that we are not doctors. Everything we say is from our experience, from what our opinions, and should not be used as medical advice. So that is super important for everybody to know. So this is just like our perspective and take on this. So let's dive into about the living water and the sacred water within us and externally in the world. So part of this journey is about being disconnected from what is natural. And you could say that a good friend of mine said that the biggest scarcities today are clean water and silence. And I think that really sums a lot of it up, of all the stress we go through and all the exposure. There's so much information. We're bombarded with information through noise, and for all our senses we get you know, that's let's see, the shadow side of how we live in a much more open world. We're not just in our little communities anymore, but the world is quite big. So it's a lot of overstimulation of all our senses. And I think that creates a lot of stress within, and that also create different mental, psychological, and physical diseases and illness.
For sure. And it is said that on one day today, in just one day, we receive as much information as we did for 10 years ago in 8 weeks. So one day now equals 8 weeks of information. And all these information, stress, these imprints, you know, cell phones, we are surrounded by radiation, always, you know, new impression, and these are coming into our senses, and it needs to be established by our inner organs, etc. So we are processing the same amount of information in one day as we did in 8 weeks 10 years ago. And this means that our bodies, who are natural, we are natural beings from nature. Every element we see out in nature exists in us. We have the earth element, we have the water element, the fire, the air, the ether, etc. And this means that all these information that we receive through our senses and that are going to be processed in our bodies, so our inner organs are working full time, just, to sort of, how do you say in English, to level on the surface, to be on the surface, because we are system overload. We are not built for all this kind of information that just flows to us and through us. And this is also in the water element, that a lot of this information and a lot of this stress is stored in the body, in the cells, in the organs, and the conductor of it all is the water elements. And we call it frozen emotions, like when you have suppressed a lot of emotions or feelings, maybe unknowingly or knowingly. So all these stress, all these traumas that we carry, all these non-flow, suppressed emotions, etc., they cause these frozen emotions and blockages in the water. This means that our inner water and our blood is not flowing the way it should be. We are creating diseases. We are not at ease, we are not in flow, and these non-flows causes blockages and we get sick.
And then, as you were saying, like just as we are nature, like we our beings contains the same elements, and even you can, everything we bring in that nourish our us on all the levels is elements from nature. And when we as people, we disconnect from nature, it also have an impact on nature itself. It's like when we don't respect and honor ourselves, we don't respect and honor nature. And you can see that we think that we are better or than animals or plants. It's just the plant. It's yet, we don't respect the living beings on our planet. And what happens is that we basically, and when we say we, it means like in the collective, dig our own graves, because when we remove, for instance, we just kill off the bees, we kill the possibility for 1/3 of all living, all plants and everything are dependent on bees. So it's like it is a very destructive way of living, and this is why we also need to turn this around, so it becomes that we start to remember who we are and remember our connection with nature, so we then can actually have a future at all. Oh, that was a bit dramatic, but still.
Yes, and we are very dependent on nature, as we've said already. We are natural beings and we stem from nature, and the way when we die we also go back to nature, our bodies, etc. So, and you can also say, that we contain of 2/3 of water, as do this planet. It contains of 2/3 of water, and we know that everything is energy. Everything is energy moving back and forth. Energy moves ups and downs like waves, like you can see in the photo. So everything is energy and comes with different frequencies, where we have low frequencies and we have the spectra all the way up to high frequencies. And water, what it does is also that it comes with codes. Water dissolves pollutions within us, and also, out there in the nature, if we were to treat nature accordingly, to its needs. Instead, we are polluting ourselves with medications, with distractions, with drugs, with work, with stress, etc., etc. So our inner water are polluted, and all these medications and jabs and stress, when we go to the toilet and pee, we pee it out in the water, and then, you know, it goes to a cleaning place, and then we get back the water and we drink the water. But a lot of the water hasn't been filtered, so all the medication, the stress, the programs, the codes are still in the water element. So that's why it is so important to, as we are saying, to raise consciousness and to become aware of how we treat ourselves, others, and also this planet, so we can clear up our inner polluted water and the outer as well.
Yeah, and talking about the benefits of water to our bodies, it's like it's totally basic. You know, they say that, you know, some say we are 50% water, others 99%. So let's say that we're around 70 again. Doesn't really matter. So I really enjoy this quote that the human body is 70% water, so it basically just cucumbers with the anxiety. I think that's a very good, and we can see that that amount is also a reflection of what you were saying. The planet is 2/3, so it's the same percentage. So just as we were saying before about the micro macrocosmos, and our every cell contains also water and all these elements. So we have to start to see things from the different levels and dimensions to also realize how the consequences of our actions. And when we use water to digest food and dissolve nutrients so they can pass through our bodies and the bloodstream. We use it to carry waste products out of our body. We basically, you know, bring it out and flush it out. We provide, it helps the metabolism. So we digest the food and produce energy and build tissues and things like that. It also sends electrical messages, just as we said before. It's a conductor. So we helps our muscles to move, and we can see that we can actually experience the world. And it regulates our body temperature. So it helps us to stay moist and you know, regulate the cooling and heat and stuff. And it lubricates our moving parts. So it's just like a few basic things that why we need water.
It is so true. And also a lot of clients come to me and they have problems with their stomach, like maybe constipation or something like that. And that is also the consequence of that many of us are too much in the fire element. Many of us have been burned out. You can even hear the word burned out, that it's too much fire. And when we are too stressed, when we are always doing and being busy, the fire element is very active, and it sort of drains the water. So people that comes, you know, and have constipation or other kinds of blockages in the blood or in the water, toxic that are being stayed. So what happens with toxics if they are put in the body, you know, if they stay in the body for a long time, you become not at ease, you develop diseases, etc. So the water element does even so much more than we can even imagine. And it is also said that spirit and the feminine essence thrives in water, and that it comes with codes, as we have already mentioned.
Exactly. But the problem is that it's, you know, they say, you know, it's like, oh, water is just water, but it's not. So there's good, healthy water, in the mainstream, that would be, well, you know, it's safe to drink. Well, and don't have pollutants or toxins in that sense. But to make it safe, actually they treat with a lot of chemicals. So the irony of that is mind-blowing. They put chlorine, they put fluorides, all of these toxic chemicals are put in the water we are supposed to drink to kill the bacteria and things. And even if you buy the plastic bottles, they especially if you bring the sun and the heat on the bottle, there's a lot of these plastic molecules actually goes into the water. But it's not just the plastic bottle in itself, but the quality of the, you know, you buy the expensive brands, and there's a lot of crap and shit in the water, to say it just simply and plain. They even have found that there's a lot of fluorides added to water today. Excuse me. And they've done a Swedish study that says that the quality of these expensive bottles of water is the quality of the toilet water at the Stockholm Central Station. Can you imagine a drink toilet water? And at the station, could you imagine anything more gross? So yeah, there's water is so much more than just water.
It sure is. And again, we need water to thrive and to both be nourished multidimensionally, you know, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, etc., sexually. And we can go on without, you know, weeks without food, but I'm not sure that we can go on for weeks without water.
Well, I think that it takes a lot of consciousness to be able to, at least that's for sure.
That's for sure. I totally agree. And I know also I do karma clearings, and there you have one soul group that are very much into living on air. So I guess also some soul groups and some people are more adapted to to thrive without water. But again, water is, and we know, like, if we don't water a plant, it will die. So it for sure brings a lot of nourishments and also a lot of pollutions the way it is handled today.
I think it's also due to all the pollution in the air, it makes it more difficult to actually be able to do it. Although the air does contain water molecules, so you know, it's just like, and if you go into you take a shower, you take a bath, and especially ocean water where you also have the minerals and salts, your skin will drink. So even if you don't physically drink, your body will drink. And talking about the natural water and oceans, all life begins in water molecules. So all living beings and all living forms contain water molecules. And it connects to all things. And therefore, it's also very important to allow it to restructure. When even if you can argue if is it really structuring that happens, but maybe it's more, it's not the right word, because everything, when it's how water molecules cluster together. So let's say that it goes down a waterfall or tumble over rocks. You can see what happens is that they twist and swirl into like a little torus and into vortex. So it's the vortex shape that makes the water molecules cluster together in smaller units. And this is, so it basically, the water dance with nature, and that, you know, these how they cluster together, it shifts like 1,000,000 times a second. So it's not like static. So it really is the flow and dance of the water molecules, but how they dance, and you know, if is it natural, does it flow, or is it through the, you know, pipes and stuff where it's very straight and manipulated. So it's the free dance type of flow that creates what many people call then structure of the water. And when you have this more type of living structure, it reflects less surface tension, and it neutralizes toxins, and it also creates a balance in the water molecules.
Yes, thank you. And I find it so interesting also that, you know, within our bodies, our intestines are moving, you know, they are very long, but they're curled together. So they're moving, the water and the blood is moving toward all these curves. And I also know that within the intestines, there are these sort of hair also, you know, to remove toxics and stuff like that. So again, we can see that the way the water is being cleaned out in the nature, it's also being cleared and cleaned in ourselves. However, we have mentioned that in the cells and in the DNA, there are water molecules. And even though that we know that each second, just by sitting here, a lot of our cells are dying and new cells are being born. But if I have some codes with me, if I have unprocessed emotions, if I have a lot of stress, traumas with me from this moment to another, when the cells are dying, that means that the programs, the pollution is, you know, duplicated from one cell to another in each moment. So that's why it is so important to clear your inner water and to heal, basically, because then you get yourself the opportunity to have new cells and new DNA that can thrive, and where the water is more clear and with clarity and new codes.
Definitely. So when we talk about this natural structured water, it basically says that it actually contains more life force. It has more energy, and the more we can access the life force and the energy, the, you know, the more we can also clear out these pollutions and toxins and everything that stresses our systems and you know, makes it freeze these also emotions, but also other things, stagnation that happens in the body that then goes out as symptoms and diseases in our physical bodies. And the unstructured water, or the stuck water in a way, that clumps together in these big clusters, has less energy. So the natural water we have inside is always dancing and flowing, you know, if it was functioning up, you know, as it's supposed to. And in the body, they want to stay in the small clusters between like 5 to 20 molecules, again, you know, on and off, but they you know, have this little small group dance going on. And in tap water, for instance, that molecules cluster together in much larger, it could be up to like 600 molecules in one. So it's no wonder we can't actually absorb the water into our cells and into our DNA, because it's like it's in the core of the cell that we have these codes that we've been talking about. So that is therefore it's super important that we also are aware of what is the information and the quality of the water we bring in, if we want to function more optimally in physically, but also, again, how that has an effect of out of nature.
For sure. So just to repeat it and explain it really basically, that the clusters are too big to enter into the cells and to come with new nourishments and new codes, etc. And also they are too big and they contain this pollution. So even though that you drink a lot of water from the tap, you might still be dehydrated because there's no nourishments enough in these big clusters.
And it can't actually go into the cell. So this is one of my favorite guys of the past. So Victor Schauberger was this researcher and from Austria, I think, back in 1800 something. And he looked at the biomimicry. Basically, he was observing and watching nature and see the patterns and how the cycles and how it works. And so he could sit for hours and just watch the water and how it works, and he could see all these vortexes created, for instance. And he also realized that the water follows the same laws as the blood in our bodies and the sap in plants. So you can say that water is the blood of this planet we live on. So the more we remove ourselves from the natural laws and the flows and cycles, for instance, that we don't follow the natural rhythms of night and day. We overstimulate, we stay up too late, we sleep too little. There's no natural cycles. We have a day off. Instead of working less, we don't honor or respect our menstrual cycles. So we actually, in some cultures, and tribes, they have like a hut. So when you menstruate, it's to withdraw, because you clear out a lot of toxins, you clear out a lot of pollution and things that doesn't serve you anymore with the blood. And if you use this to also birth it to Mother Earth, to give it back to Mother Earth, you follow the natural cycles. But here in the West, it just go. You have cramps, we have all these PMS symptoms because we don't respect and honor the natural cycles. Just to come with one example. And this is also that if we want to access more our superpowers or our full potential, it's very important that we start to follow and observe and use the natural laws and the natural way of being.
I totally agree. And we are also writing about Victor Schauberger in Holy Fucking Sacred Water. And I also want to give one example, like we are Swedes, even though that you live in Denmark, Susanna, and here in Sweden, in the wintertime, it's pitch black from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But then we take the month of December, and that's the most hectic month for most people. There are Christmas parties, there are Christmas cleaning, cooking, baking, Christmas shopping, etc. So when we have so little light in that time of the year, and we are pushing ourselves there, endings for businesses and, accounts, stuff like this. So again, we are not honoring the natural cycles, not in ourselves and not the outer cycles also, because we have created, like a matrix that are not connected to nature. Again, we are natural beings. So that's also, there's so many levels of this disconnection, and we are not even aware of it. And this information all resides within the sacred water element. And I also want to add that Victor Schauberger, his discoveries were meant, to benefit humanity, but his discoveries were taken by the Nazis, and they kept his, research for themselves. And I don't know what they did with the research, but if we knew how important our inner and outer water truly is, then we would never treat ourselves and the planet the way we do. So I don't know what happened to his full research.
Definitely. You know, and I think that the moment we start to treat ourselves as we want to be treated by others, you know, and that automatically could also change how we perceive and treat the planet. So in these, you know, climate change agendas pushing for green energy and everything, it's important to realize that it has to start within. We have to start to change the way we see ourselves and the planet.
Exactly. We cannot change or contribute with anything in the outer realms if we haven't done the inner work ourselves. So true.
There's another guy who, Dr. Benveniste, however his name is pronounced, and that he also looked at the resonance, like the frequencies of the water molecules that carries biological information. So as we were talking, you were saying before, Ulis, about the frozen emotions. So if it's something that is holds a lower frequency, it goes slower basically. So when it's not good or bad we're talking about here, it's more that it moves and it you know, slower, has a different type of it peaks, goes up and down differently, that the more dense, the heavier it feels basically, and that goes with our emotions. So if we feel grief or we are in you know, there are some heavy emotions of jealousy or hatred, or it basically it really keeps us stuck. So then it's the information, the frequency is quite dense. So then when we start to, you know, swirl it and move it up to the higher frequencies, it also releases some of these frozen emotions, for instance, within our bodies. So, but the thing is that all this information is also what they call the memory of water. So when the water we use goes through the pipes, it also goes through the energy field and of everybody it's in contact with. So if, let's say, we have all these really depressed people and we have people who are stressed, they have all these diseases. It's not just that it goes through, we keep the memory and the frequency of the like medications that comes residues of medicine that's in the water, but also the memory of it. So we are bombarded with a lot of things, but luckily we can clear out this memory, and so, you know, you start as a clean slate. And I think that that's one of the main reason I think it's a very, if we want to feel better and have like where we take back the power, where we start to create and experience health and the dream lives we want and become the life designers we're meant to be, it's a very important to clear out this old information, and we can do that when we restructure the water we use and drink.
Yes, so true. And I also want to add, you were talking about low frequency emotions, and like, for instance, fear is a very low frequent emotion and feeling, and lack and scarcity perspectives. And these low frequent vibrations are stored within our water. And if we also look, what's going on globally today, what has been going on for the, as long as we have lived for, but it has been in our faces these couple of last 3 years. There's been so much fear and so much propaganda and so much information about, you have to be scared of this, you have to be, looking out for that, you have to do this, don't do that, etc. So there's been so much fear, and these fears have been come into our bodies and into our blood and into our water. And just imagine what it has done to our inner flow and to our health and well-being.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that a lot of people have heard about Dr. Emoto, and I just found this picture, and I thought this was a very good example, also because when we talk about the resonance and frequencies, that is also sound. So it's every frequency has a sound and this vibration. And so when something holds a very low or dense vibration, let's say that now we play some heavy metal music, is quite low vibrating and a low frequency, very dense. Look at this image and see how this water molecule is crystallized, compared to if you listen to Mozart. And they've done all these different studies on the Mozart music of how it helps to activate the vagus nerve and make people much more creative. This is why, because creation comes when you have open up your pineal gland and you open, and there's flow in your system. And these frequencies coming from, for instance, Mozart's music, you can see what a beautiful and symmetric and shape the water molecule has. So can you imagine what happens in our body to our when we have these lower frequencies, even music, but also then emotions, it's all connected. They are just different dimensions and layers of the same thing. Everything is energy.
Exactly. And everything is energy and in a different frequency. And I also want to take a little time to these two photos that we can see now on the slide. Also, what I was just talking about these past years, that there's been so much fear that has been going on. And this is what it causes, our water in our bodies also to look like, the blood and the inner water, and also how are we communicating to ourselves and others? How do we think about ourselves? Because thoughts are energy and they travel and they're transported in the water element. So I would guess that the photo of the heavy metal to the right is also when we have some kind of disease, some kind of stagnation or blockages in our inner water. And we know that we are, that we know that we have only access to 5% of consciousness. That means that we are run by 95% of unconscious programs. And a lot of these programs that we are not even aware of that we have affects our, life quality, our health, our relationship, our whole lives. And a lot of these programs that we have in our cells, in our DNA, in our inner water elements, they contain low frequency vibrations. So we can't stress it enough that, everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we say and act is also energy. And if we are acting upon these 5% of consciousness, or the 95% of the unconscious, and most of the unconscious programs are based on lack, fear, and scarcity programs. So here we also have the opportunity as free souls to choose more love, unconditional love, and that will also clear out your inner pollutions.
Absolutely, because it raises our frequency. But it, you know, at the same time, I think it's important also to discern when it comes to people become very scared of having experienced fear, or if you think something negative. And I really want to emphasize that's not what we're saying, that you shouldn't think negative thoughts, is to observe and let the thought or the emotion flow through you and don't resist it. Because I think that is part of this, especially the, you know, there's all these positive psychology and in the spiritual, that this is like, no, I don't want to know and I don't want to feel it, so I'm just going to stay positive. That is one of the biggest traps to get stuck, because what you persist. And basically, so the more we reject something, it will just stagnate the energy. So it's very important to allow it to flow and allow the inner water to bring it through us. Just feel it and observe it, but don't try to, you know, push it away or stay away from it, because
yes, this is so important. This is like a keynote. It's so important. And emotions are energy in motions, so they are designed to move through you, as Susanna is saying. And emotions and feelings are designed, we are designed to let everything move through us, to observe, to embrace, and by observing we also transform and transcend. So it has nothing to do about avoiding hard feelings or avoiding, you know, negativity or fear. On the contrary, you allow them and you observe them, and then you can transform them.
They can flow through like a wave. Yes. So how do we actually restore the high energy level of the water? So as we talked about, it's about the resonance. So if water is treated correctly, it's a hexagonal structure. So you can see, you know, the crystalline shapes and beautiful. It's have some patterns that comes with all the different frequencies. So, but what happens due to all this and old information that is carried, it's to really remove all the old information. And you can do that. There's like a reverse osmosis, or you distill, and there's some specific filters that basically removes all the information, but it actually kills the vitality of the water as well. So you know, you do a reset, not the great reset, we don't play that game, but it is a reset where basically you swipe clean the you know, the computer or whatever, and then you start to bring in new program, you bring in the life force, but it's in a pure form. So it's very, very important that add minerals in to which, so it basically, it's minerals, it's for instance in Himalaya salt and things like that, and then you restructure it. So you create the vortex and bring it into the smaller clusters that we will talk a little bit more later on.
This is great information. Thank you, Susanna. And I also want to add, like, for your inner water, you can start to observe your thoughts and how you communicate with yourself. And you can maybe be more compassionate and more loving towards yourself and others. Like, you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to earn love. You are love. You are unconditional love. you're divine from source, and also just to say, you know, that you're good enough, you love yourself, you forgive yourself, and not only that you have love, you are love, you are from love. So this can also sort of change your inner water from these fear perspectives and lack perspectives. So but not only to do affirmations like, oh, I'm great, and it's gonna, with the imagination that it's going to change the structure of your water, but you can just become observant of your own thoughts, how much we are, you know, complaining on ourselves, how much we complain on others in our thoughts, how much we compare, etc., etc. So that's also a piece of information we want to give to you.
And something that I've always told my kids is that the moment we start to let go of the identity with something, let's say that we are like these minerals, like we have this crystalline structures that we are made of. In every cell, there's crystals. So like the minerals, and then there's water. So the moment we stop identifying with our physical body, our thoughts, our emotions, but it's something we have. So we discern between what is the programs and what something we have and who we are. So you can do a lot of, you know, dumb things and you don't get why, but it's not who you are. So it's about the identification and really come back to that we are love and we are source, and you know, we are the holy fucks basically. But
totally.
just to continue a little bit about the minerals, because if we look at the importance of the minerals, and there are some places on the planet. There's one place in Pakistan. There's Lourdes in France. We also have a chapter of in Holy Fucking Sacred Water book, and there's in Costa Rica. There, you know, there's these little gems around on the planet where people are very vital. They live for a very long time, very healthy, and what they have found is the difference between these what makes it, why do they live healthier and longer and happier? Well, it has to do with the minerals in the water. So there's water in earth, and then that's what they drink and things. Himalayan salt is millions of years old, just as an example, and it's not polluted because it's from inside of the mountains. So it's not touched by all the shit the humanity have brought out to the world. And it contains 84 out of the 87 or 89, can't now, but it's something like that, but almost all the essential minerals that and elements we need to keep our bodies moving. So when we clear out the old information from the water and then add some minerals, that helps the restructuring, because if there's no minerals, it's dead. So we need the minerals to actually create that's just like where, again, the holy fuck, you know, you need the sacred water, they marry. The holy fuck is like the crystals, the spark of life that we need to add to the water for it to revitalize.
Yes, and another analogy can be that, you know, if we have a garden and the garden is full of weeds, but we want to plant new plants, we want to have plants that are beautiful and thrive, but there's no space because it's already full of the weeds. So what we need to do is to pull out the weeds with its roots, and to create a space. We need to create a space so we can plant something new. It's exactly the same thing that Susanna is talking about. First, we kill the information, and then we have to plant something new and make new seeds of what we want instead.
Exactly. And Prife International, where we are independent business owners, they have this 7 wonders flask. So it's just like basically what you do is that you take your clean water, clear water, if it's from a spring or you have filtered or whatever, you take it into the flask and screw up. It contains a lot of minerals. So what happens is that it starts to create hydrogen in the water. So it hydrates the water. It brings down the oxidation, which is basically what makes us imbalanced, and we don't. It adds antioxidants. It also reduces the molecule size, the clustering that we talked about, makes it alkaline. And then it's also the good minerals, as we talked, and it's antibacterial. By having, you can have the water there for a few minutes until you can see the bubbles in the water. You pour it up in a glass, and then on an empty stomach. And if you start your morning with that, you have a really good start. You don't want to use alkaline water with food, because you actually need you neutralize the acids to digest the food. So that's why it's important that we do it on an empty stomach. But that is just like one way to actually increase your vitality, is to use something like this. So this is just one example of a tool and a product you can use.
Great. And I also want to take the opportunity to say that, as you mentioned, Susanna, we are working with the product of Prife. If you go out on internet, there's a lot of similar products. And so we don't know anything about them. We just know that Prife are the ones that have developed these things from the beginning, and they have patent on them. So it's up to you what kind of product you want to have, but we know, and our experience is that Prife comes with quality.
Yes, I don't think they have patents on the water bottle, but some of the other products definitely. And so it also, I think it's important to say there's all these different products out there, and some are brilliant, and there's also a lot of fake stuff out there. So that's also why it's important to really use your discernment and feel what you feel called to. So these are examples of just things that we use and how we but anyway, there's a lot of different ways to restructure the water, and you want to create this vortex, right? So there's egg-shaped containers that in natural that automatically from the shape itself makes this vortex a natural vortex. So you can keep it in an egg shape, and that over 24 hours that will start to make this restructuring of the water, so the clusters become smaller, and as we have talked about. There's also all the other type of technologies out there and products. There something that we have used, that after we have like this filter system that goes through a lot of different type of filters and remineralize it, and then we put it on the magnetic stirring plates that you use at different labs and stuff. So basically, again, you want to have the vortex so it starts to stir. It's not the ideal because of you actually create a magnetic field, so it's not the very, very best, but but this is like quite an inexpensive way of restructuring the water. There's also other hourglass shaped devices that you can do that also, but that's what you're aiming for, is that to create this swirl in a way that so it restructures. My favorite tool at the moment that have changed my life is the iTeraCare, that we will talk a little bit more about later. Because as we have said, we are energetic beings. So you can see that within every cell, there's atoms, and these atoms have electrons and neutrons and photons. Is that I always forget the third one. It's something that's just like that, talk about the block, but it all goes in waves and particles. So this is also what we want to have in balance, and we want it to, just as an electricity, when you plug to get electricity, it's the vortex, the torus field around that we want to create to help the structuring of our cells and our systems and bodies, to help them function optimally. You want to add something?
No, you do it so well. Go ahead.
So it's an important thing here is that we have this, what we call the holy fuck, the spark that comes from when we unite something. It's like new, there's a spark of something. There's the electricity that comes when we take the mother and the father, if it's the positive, negative, and that spark creates the electricity. We have this, and the water is the transmitter that brings that charge out. So we have all these photons in our body that then this electricity sparks. What happens is that it's in the cell membrane, and it's like the thunderstorm. So it's just like, you know, you get charged up. So we are like a battery that needs to be charged and filled up, and yet we, you know, it's almost like you have your phone on, it's like a few percentage. Everything becomes more slow. You don't have access. You cannot do what you want on your phone if it's not charged, right? Because it all of a sudden it dies, and it's just like boom, you're out. So this is also how it's, you know, the micro and macro cosmos of to see how these electromagnetic fields are also within our cells, and we need to spark up and charge our bodies.
We do, and most of us, we are more concerned about, you know, charging our cell phone or our computers, but not so many of us, you know, recharge ourselves every day. Maybe we go to the gym once a week or twice a week, or we eat healthy, or, you know, but actually we need to recharge ourselves, you know, through every breath and through the sacred water every day.
Definitely. So how do we recharge ourselves? And so let's say that a thick cell membrane, so you can see there's a cell there. So the thicker the cell membrane is, it's like you have like a tennis ball, you know, it's quite hard. You can't squeeze it very easily. Then it cannot be charged as, so that's like the thicker, the less charged it can be. You know, it's just like nutrients can't go into your cell membrane, you know, because it's like it's too hard. So it just bounced back and we, you know, get it out. We cannot get the water molecules into our cells because it just drops out again. Can't move through this hard membrane. So it's very important to be able to be hydrated and to absorb the nutrients. And one thing that is important is to have the omega-3 balance. So the 3-6-9 balance that helps to soften the cell membrane, especially in our brain. Our brain has a lot of it actually mainly fat. So also part of this whole low diet and you know, everything is fat free and you know, we should be so scared about fat. It's actually, you need to have the right type of fat, yes, but it's not the fat free that will help us. We need fat to actually function and be lubricated. So the high frequency water molecules also then can enter this thick membrane, because the smaller clusters, the easier it is to move through, and then it moistens up and lubricates the membrane, and you know, and there's just like this, you just feel more and more energized.
And we know that when we have diseases or when we are sick, we know that the texture of our cells are also changed. So again, everything is connected to the water element.
Yes. And when we can bring in charged high frequency water into our cell membrane, we activate our DNA, and it also expels the toxins. So it's like double sandwich. So a few months ago, I started to use this little device. We sometimes called it a medbed dildo too, when we are a little bit naughty. But basically, the iTeraCare is this device that if you look at here, you see a cell and you can see how that they charge and the voltage that you know, it has between 80 and 100 microvolt, megavolt. Okay. And then it weakens and becomes it harder and harder and less flexible and less in flow. It stagnates more and more. So and at the bad cell level here, it's quite low voltage, right? So there it starts to mutate or create diseases. So when we then charge it with terahertz and scalar energy, it sparks up and it revitalizes. So it starts to function again. And so it's like an optimization of our cells. And
Yes.
the first time I used it, actually, that was how I expressed it. The best way I could express how it felt was that my cells were dancing. They were like little sparkles. They were so like happy cells dancing around, and they felt so alive. So it's really the pure life force in a way.
Yes, it's a magical wand, quantum terahertz frequency device. And the way it works and the way I just love it too is that it has like 4, you know, really deep healing practices in one device. First, you can structure your water and you put your own intentions into the water while you're structuring it. So that's like, you know, a big deep healing process in itself. And then you have the scalar waves, like the quantum physics in the 0-point field, where everything and anything is possible in an instant. And then you have the terahertz. We know that energy, we have said everything is energy, and energy is measured in hertz. So that's also, you know, on a deep level, on a cellular level, healing practice. And then it's also with quartz healing. So it's like, you know, it's like a Kinder egg. You get 4 things in one, and I just love it. And it's a portable medbed, the device of the future.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot, you know, it is interesting because they call the terahertz. They've done research about this in Asia and Russia are been the front runners of terahertz frequency, and they call it the wave of life, or the light of life, or even the God's wave band. And basically, it's between the infrared and the microwave. And then I know a lot of people, they freak out. It's like, microwave, that's dangerous. And it's like, yeah. But basically, it's not good or bad just because it's one side or the other. It's actually, the terahertz vibrates at the frequency where our healthy cells, that's like what we radiate when we function optimally. So when we add terahertz to our body, the body remembers how it is, how it's supposed to be. We access the akashic records of the blueprint, or whatever we want to call it, but this remembrance of how it is, how our body is supposed to function. When a lot of people know about the infrared saunas and all this, it's like how beneficial that they are. But what happens is that infrared sauna, the infrared radiation doesn't penetrate into your body, that it cannot go so deep. So that's why, where you see one of the things with the microwave type of frequencies is that it actually goes through your molecules. It can move very, very fast. So this is between the infrared and the microwave, meaning it can, because of the way the synergy effect that happens between the scalar frequencies and the crystals and the terahertz, it can then penetrate into your body, 20 to 30 centimeters into your body, and even activate your stem cells. There's a scientific report that they've done, and they can see that it activates stem cells and activates your DNA, and it eliminates mutated or eliminates the sick cells, basically. Yes, and so this is like the frequency range is between the 100 gigahertz to 10 hertz. So here you can see that there's 3 different devices, different sizes, depending. The technology is the same. It all depends on how you're going to use it. It activates the normal charge, the battery of the cells, so they start to function. But let's say you have a cell that is it's just not functioning well enough, it's mutated, then it will be eliminated. So that's also why we can call it like a little medbed or this magic wand, because it has a faster effect. So we know that we have cells that dies every day and it renews, but it will be a replica of the former. So what happens is, when we have a cell that is when a sick cell is eliminated, what are the cells that will be replicated? They are then already charged, So hence you get quite amazing and fast healing. Or your body starts to heal. The machine doesn't do anything more than provide an environment where the body can heal itself. And I think that's a very important point to make, that it doesn't do anything. It's not even called a medical device. It's a but it just creates this opportunity for the body to remember and start to function as it's supposed to function. Anything to add?
No, you do it great.
Okay. So we can call this a like a natural energy optimization in a way. And again, it's the synergy effect that comes from this quantum field. There's the 0-point field, and the quartz, the optical quartz, is what helps it penetrate, the terahertz penetrate further into your body and into your stem cells. So I think it was, there was one of the old philosophers from the Greek philosophers or something that said the one who has the keys to heat up the bones have the keys to health, or to cure disease, or I don't know, something like that. I suck with quotes if I don't I can't read them, but just paraphrasing quite a lot. So, but what happens then is with we heat up the bones, so they start to get more of that fire element, and that also then in a way heat up the frozen stagnated energies and blocks that sits in our bodies. So you get the blood start to flow more freely, the whole system start to flow, and you activate the nervous system, the meridians, the lymph system, because it helps you the frozen emotions, then the blockages we have to be dissolved. Just as you have ice turning into water.
Yes, exactly. Water is one of the elements that can shapeshift and transform into other shapes and forms. We have the water flowing, we have the ice, and we also have it as a gas. So, and even, you know, as we've said, if it like a glacier, if it's melting, then more information and more flow will be accessed.
So what also to just some of the benefits when you use iTeraCare is then that it eliminates unhealthy cells, it activates the inert cells that I already talked about, and increase the self-healing ability that I also said, clears the meridian lymph points, but also just it really activates the nervous system. So for someone like me who have had I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia a decade ago, within days, my pain was gone, and it hasn't returned, and it's been 6 months now. I don't say I'm cured by anything. I don't know what will happen in the future. I just know that I have more energy and feel better than I have in my whole life. Also other things that come, because also it improves the microcirculation, as we talked about, and regulate the glands. And here again, it's all about the glands have water. It contains water, like the pineal gland. It contains water and has crystals. So we charge the inner water by blowing. Looks like a hairdryer, sounds like a hairdryer, but it's like this magic field of unconditional love that you just provide to your body. So it's like becomes like happy and start to work. It also removes the body humidity. So as we talked about all this information that we could hold on into the body, you actually then clear out the old information that is stagnated in the body. So and then the blood circulation. So in these times when people have a lot of blood clots and things, it helps to create a more circulation of the blood.
It creates more flow on all levels.
Yeah. So because of here you can see how they actually just blow on the water, and you can see it start to move the water into because the force. What happens is that it changes the structure of on the clusters. So you can see in this, it's like you have the big cluster, and it puts the water molecules like pearls on a string. So they actually can enter into the cell, as we have talked a lot about before, and charge it, because it holds a high voltage, or like it's charged with the terahertz, and then it can penetrate into your cell and make your cells happy.
It's a holy fuck.
It's a holy fuck in sacred water. And you can see up here with there's some blood from a microscope. So how the blood is clustered together in these irregular shapes and forms. And then after you add the terahertz or the iTeraCare synergy effect here, and the scale-up frequencies, it clusters very, very differently. So, and just to make a little remark here, now they're not drinking the water, but they use a plastic cup. You should never use a plastic, but you use glass. But here you can see in the little video of just how the molecules and cells they start to shape differently and detach into smaller units, smaller clusters. Okay, so basically what we're saying is that the book we wrote a few years ago, and one of the things that I personally felt a bit frustrated of, that I could see all these things, but I didn't have like a tool to do that. So it's like, how do we actually clear out the blockages, the pollution, and all the shit we have, and all the old information in our bodies, and really charge our energy fields and the holy fucks, without having to do it for the whole lifetime. I feel like I've done so much inner work over decades, and there's still stuff coming up, and I still get all my body full of diseases because of all the things that we bombarded with the whole time. And now it's all the 5G and all of that as well. It affects our systems. It's very, very difficult to keep our life force flowing. And then these magical products came into my life, and I flabbergasted. It's really a magic wand. There are some new products that we will talk about in a later video as well, but this has been the best investment I've done in my life, except for my kids maybe, but it's it's, for me, it's the manifestation of everything we wrote about, and it's the secret connection to everything, because it works on all our bodies, the emotional body, the mental body, the physical body, the, like, up to the connection to source, everything. It clears out all the blockages and pollution in all of our bodies. So it's the quick gateway to experience what we want. But that's just like my experience with it.
I totally agree that it's a magical wand, and we used to joke about it that you can give yourself a blowjob, you just blow it all away. You just blow your worries away, you just clear out your inner water, and you just basically blow it all away.
Yeah, amazing.
So thank you so much for your time and your energy and your work, Susanna, that you are sharing and spreading around the world. And we would like to just say thank you also to you who are listening, and we would like to give you a little reactivation of your inner water. So yes, please, you can just have this slide up there. So while I'm doing like a meditation or a reactivation.
And I just want to say, if you have received this video from someone else who also works with Prife International, please, get the device through them and support their journey. But if you don't have anyone, you found us yourself or through us, then and you're interested to learn more and about the devices, you can go to frequencyandwellness.com/TheoLeo and or connect with us at frequencywonders.com.
This is exciting. I've had my puppy here. She's been lying here asleep this whole time, and now when I'm going to do a reactivation, she wakes up. So Daisy is here too. So yes, please just close your eyes and become aware of your body, of your posture, of your breaths. And just let all this information be transported in your inner water into your cells. And just trust that this information is working on you consciously and unconsciously on a cellular level. And you become observant of your own breaths. Perhaps you can make them longer, deeper, more like yogic breaths, conscious breathing. And you hear my words as you breathe. And my words are charged energy in a high state of frequency. My words going through the ether elements into your ears, to your brain. And as perhaps a thought or just an imprint from your brain into your heart, into your lungs. And your heart is pumping your blood, your inner water, through your veins. My words pumps through your veins into your inner organs, your chakras, all of you, all of your bodies, your mental, your spiritual, your physical, emotional body. And my words are like keys opening your cells. You can feel your heartbeat. You can feel your breath pumping around high frequent words, high frequency energy. And to be like keys to open your cells. you become aware of the water element in your cells. How each and one of my words are creating this structure, this spiral, this movement within the water. From my heart to your heart, pumping out the sacred water in your veins, to all your organs and your cells. And you know that you have your thoughts, you have your body, you have your ways and your behaviors. But you know that you are so much more than your body, your thoughts, your actions. You are divine. And my words are now the sparks creating the holy fuck merging in your cells. You are divine. You are from source. You are eternal. You are a soul. And these words creates ripples in your waters, and you remember who you are. You are unconditional love. You are light. You are energy. You are whole and complete. You are sacred. You are divine. You are a holy fuck. You are flow. You are healthy. Your thoughts, my words, creates an inner flow and removes the toxics, removes traumas, unresolved emotions, so your emotions can run through your body, flow freely through your body, and you can release yourself of anything and everything that doesn't serve you right now. And if you could use your senses to taste the water in your cells, how does it look like? What color is your water, your sacred water in your cells, in your DNA? What does it taste like right now? What does your holy and sacred water smell like? And you take more breaths, create more flow, more circulation, receiving the divine and releasing the old. And you inhale, hold your breath, feel your whole body expand, your cells expand with divinity, with sacredness, with inner flow, inner healing. You hold, observe, you feel, and then you exhale with an open mouth and relaxed jaws, and you let go. You release. And you do this a couple of more times. More breaths, more divinity, more charge, more high frequency words and energy, and you expand within it and remember who you are. You are a soul. Your water is sacred and so are you. And you exhale with an open mouth and loose jaws and observe the water quality with your senses. And one more final breath. Inhale, receive, expand in the divinity, the divine that you already are, that is within you. My words that are reactivating this memory. And you exhale and let go. And just sit in a little while in silence and observe the echo in yourself. Observe your inner flow, your inner sacredness. Inhale, move your body, coming back to your body, to the screen. Thank you so much for listening, for being here. Thank you so much for clearing out your inner water so you can contribute to a more conscious and loving world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulis. Always a pleasure to play with you, and thank you for listening and watching this, and yeah, go with the flow, work with the flow, and really honor the sacredness of your water and who you are, because we are needed. This is the time we came for. This is why we are here, to help each other to remember who we really are, and to live our full potential. And the living water, the sacred water, is a big key and code to that. So thank you for joining, and I hope.
And if there is no flow, if there's stagnation in your flow, if there's blockages, frozen emotions, traumas, etc., create a new flow. Use your soul's free will that you can choose, and you can choose love, and you can choose better water, better flow, better opportunities. So thank you.
Absolutely. And so it is. Thank you.